As it's now autumn, I decided to prepare some of my favourite foods to take us through autumn and into winter. I'm starting with tofu, so these are soybeans if you haven't ever had them before. I'm trying to make tofu just because I wanted to experiment with something that was a little more exciting and just trying to find a way to make some things that I would have otherwise simply bought. Now, it does take a lot of time, so it might not be for you, but hopefully you can enjoy just watching. Firstly, I just rinse the beans. I rinse them and then I soak them overnight for at least 24 hours. The recipe that I use will be linked in the description below. Because I'm not someone who knows how to make this properly, I just am experimenting with the kind of tofu that I want to try out. In the meantime, I'm going to be making some apple cider vinegar because we have so many apples on our tree at the moment and it's so important that we use them up and we don't waste them. So I'm just getting a few just to try and first make a new batch just to see how it turns out. So all I'm going to be doing is chopping them up and simply putting them in the vase. After I've put all the apples in the vase, then we add our sugar because the sugar is going to help turn it into apple cider vinegar. Again, the recipe that I use will be in the description below. And then I'm just going to be adding some filtered water as well. And because the apples bubble up a bit, I have to put in a little weight just to make sure that they stay underneath and completely submerged. Now back to the soybeans. After soaking them for 24 hours, I just rinse them and make sure I have completely, thoroughly kind of got any of the other stuff on that might have been sitting in the water. And now it's just simply time to blend the beans with some water. Once I've blended, I then push it through a kind of cheesecloth and make sure I've got as much of the liquid out as possible because this is going to be the raw soy milk that you make your tofu from. Make sure to save any of the fibrous kind of pulp that's left over because it's called okara and you can use it for so many things like frying into salads and making croquettes with, and it's really good for you. Now I'm just boiling the soy milk to cook it. You have to boil it 3 times and it creates this wonderful skin called yuba, which you definitely don't want to throw away. It tastes super good. Because I can't eat this much okara in one go, I just simply freeze it and then I can take it out in batches. So now I'm just dissolving some of the coagulant that I'm using called nigari. I just like to make sure I dissolve it in water. I learned this at a workshop that I did with the arty vegans and it works so well. And then I just pour the coagulant around the outside of the raw, well, the now cooked soy milk. After you add the coagulant, it starts to curdle, and these are the bits that you want to put into your molds. It looks really gross, but it's the perfect way to make tofu. And you just put them into your molds and cover them up. In my experience, it only takes about half an hour, but the longer you leave it, the firmer the tofu gets. So if you want silky tofu, then don't leave it too long, but if you want nice firm tofu, leave it for up to an hour. And then I chose to make some sauerkraut because I got this in my odd box. And making sauerkraut is super easy and really cheap. It just is cabbage, water, well no, its own water and salt. So just cabbage and salt, it's 2 ingredients. Here you just have to massage the cabbage to get all the water out because you want the cabbage to be completely submerged in its own juices. This will help it to ferment but also not to grow mold and rot while it's in the tin. It's really simple and it's really cheap. And now I'm making some kimchi. I absolutely love kimchi so much, and I use Cheap Lazy Vegan's recipe, so that's linked in the description as well. I love kimchi, it just goes with absolutely everything, and I'm trying to get as many fermented and probiotic foods, or prebiotic, I'm not quite sure which one it is, into my diet because it really helps my digestion. This is just from experience, remember I'm not a dietitian or anything like that, so don't take me for my word. You just have to salt the cabbage to get all the water out, and you do it in layers just to make sure every piece is covered. After I've done this, I just put the lids on and I put to the side for about 2 to 3 hours until it's completely broken down. Well, until the yolk is completely left the cabbage leaves. After a few hours, once the liquid's pretty much come out, you need to wash the cabbage thoroughly. I washed it about 3 times just to make sure all the salt that you put on it has definitely come off. And then it got pretty late, so I took a break, I had some dinner, and I resumed in the morning. For the kimchi paste, you have to put water and glutinous rice flour, or sweet rice flour, I think. This helps to, actually I don't know what this does, this is why I simply follow someone else's recipe, because Cheap Lazy Vegan is, not only is she Korean, but she's also vegan, and she makes kimchi with her mum every single year. So I definitely obviously trust her recipe, you should trust her over me. So yeah, this is just what this is. I also like to use some dried shiitake mushrooms, and I kind of rehydrate them because Mary's Test Kitchen, she's made this and she said that this helps to give it a kind of funky flavour, because obviously we're not using fish sauce in a plant-based one. Unfortunately I couldn't find the right radish, so I just used some radishes that I could find, some ginger and some garlic. I added this all to a blender, added the liquid from the mushrooms and blended it all up. I just added it to a bowl with the kind of gooey paste from the sweet rice flour, and then added the Korean red pepper flakes. Added some salt, and then I added all of the cabbage to a bowl so that I could mix it all together. You should really use gloves, but because I didn't have any, I didn't want to get the red pepper flakes on my hands because it can stain your hands and also burn. So I decided just to use a spatula and then a metal spoon. But if you have gloves, it makes it way better. And so far that is it. I have another video coming out on food prep because there are lots more things I want to prepare for autumn and winter, so this is just the beginning. If you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up, and I hope I will see you in the next kind of video.